only does a husband in his love for the wife as the church, the husband has a responsibility to love his wife and honor her. And every man, every husband has to decide what that's going to look like, but it must be done. He has to be able to honor her, and he has to be able to make sure that others honor her. He has to make sure that his family honors her. He has to make sure that she's honored in the public. He has to make sure that he honors her in the private. Why? Because she's a different vessel. So he loves her according to Christ loved the church. That's the comparison. But he loves her nonetheless with great honor. I think that it's important that as soon as the children get of age, that the husband ought to put some things in place to make sure that the children understand the importance that in this house, women, your mother, my wife, is going to be honored. So that when young boys leave the house, they understand that women are to be honored. The deacons and I, we have decided that in Bible Baptist Church, we're going to make sure that we show and demonstrate publicly that all the women in the church are to be honored. First of all, in how we treat you. Second of all, that when it comes to anything public, we want to make sure that you're honored. This is something that we agreed on. We decided upon. That's why when a lady steps from the floor up here, we stand up. If she's already up here, we're going to stay seated. But if she comes up, we stand up. You notice also, too, that when the ladies are coming up, you'll notice the deacons. They're going to help the ladies up, bring them down, because we want to demonstrate how much we appreciate the women in our life, the women that God has brought in our midst, but also that we can send a message to the young men of the church that women ought to be respected, they ought to be honored in God's house. So women are to be loved. The second thing he says, back to Ephesians, is that women are also to be protected. That is the husband's responsibility. He is lover, but he's also protector. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. The picture is of Christ laying down his life for the church, and the husband has the responsibility to lay down his life for his wife. That is, that he is the protector of her. He is the one who is the guardian of her to make sure that she is protected. Why does she need to be protected? Because God has made her differently. I know that there are some women that can handle some men. I know that. That's not the point. The point is that the husband is responsible to lay down his life, if need be, for his wife. In John, Paul will say that is the kind of love that we have for all the brethren. That we ought to be able to lay down our lives for the brethren. But especially for your wife. Why? Because Christ laid down his life. He made that sacrifice for his bride, the church. And you'll notice your dads, if your dad was home, you ever notice how dad seems to be the one who makes the sacrifice? Dads will make that sacrifice for the family. Dads, fathers, husbands will do that generally. Not all of them do, but that is the call that God has placed upon husbands. And so we make the sacrifice. Whether it is in a discussion, if it is in an argument, if it is in whatever. Somebody has to make the sacrifice. Somebody has to be able to lay down and say, that's it. Somebody has to literally protect the family and protect the home. And when that wife goes out into that community, that husband must have in his mind that I will do absolutely whatever I have to do to be able to protect my wife when she goes into the public. That's a calling. and certainly at